All right, so check it out. I am relatively off-grid up in Reno, but I am at a campground so that I can be safe and test out my equipment before I go more remote. Here's my problem. My Blue Eddy portable battery is not, or doesn't seem to be charging my trailer battery. Let me explain. Yo, so I'm out here doing my thing, helping people rediscover the way they're meant to live by teaching them the importance of animal-based nutrition, ancestral-based health practices, and simplified living. And I'm doing this from an off-grid overlanding perspective. I ran into a battery problem, which translates into a power problem, which translates into a problem because even though I don't need much power, I need power for certain things, including staying connected to the modern world so that I can visit with clients and do my virtual seminars and things like that. So I'm gonna walk you through the story of my battery and power problem and the resolution of it. And even if you don't care about batteries or power, that doesn't sound relevant to you, there's a bunch of other learnings throughout this entire learning process, and I think you'll find value in it. Now you'll notice that I'll pop in here and there from this Jeep perspective or from inside my gazebo giving you a monologue. And that's just to help piece together and clarify the story, because otherwise I'm not sure it would make sense. Let me know what you think. Now this trailer battery is a battle-born lithium-ion 1,000 watt-hour battery, which means it's pretty badass. All that it powers is this motor to raise this tent, the water pump in the rare situations that I use the sink, and I rarely do, and these LEDs, which I never use because I'm always in bed before the sun goes down. Now I can also use the trailer battery for external devices, but I barely do. And as an example, you can see the cooler is plugged in and the power is on. It's working totally fine. So in doing that and using it in the little ways that I do, I've slowly drained it from a full charge down to 13.2 volts. So I need to recharge it. But when I go to plug it into the Blue Eddy to give it a charge, you can see here that there's no draw, there's no output wattage. Now to test the receptacle for the plug, I'm going to unplug the trailer battery and plug in my MacBook Pro. And when I do that, I can see that it's pulling some wattage. Not a lot, but it's pulling some wattage. So it's not the receiver of the plug or the receptacle. It doesn't seem to be. Now, already by this point, through deductive reasoning and critical thinking, I'm already learning a bunch of great stuff. I could have easily taken this into a shop and had someone look at it and fix it for me. But where's the learning in that? All right, so to test and see if the charging situation for the trailer battery works, I'm gonna pick up camp and go to another spot. I have to pay a little bit extra, but theoretically I should be able to plug into some power and then see if it's pulling a charge. Classic, I pulled in, I've already reserved the spot. There's somebody here. I don't know if he's freeloading or what. I said, hey, you wanna compare tickets? And his ticket, it's not really a ticket. He said he did a manual pay, which I don't see an option up there for that. You know, you pay and you get a ticket and it reserves it for a certain amount of time. And so, gotta wait for this guy to pack up and move. All right, we are all set up at a new camp spot and we are plugging in to see what happens. Now the voltage here says 13.1. Now if I look at the app says that the charger has a 14.2 voltage and a current of 0 amps, and I'm not sure what the heck that means. Now at this point, I'm learning about amps and voltage and wattage, which is really cool. For example, volts can refer to compatibility. So if you hear something is 12 volt or 110 volt, you have an appliance, you want to make sure that the voltages match up. But voltage can also refer to a storage of energy, potential. And in this battery and power problem, that's how we're measuring the potential energy of the battery, is in voltage. 14.6 is full charge. And the lower that goes, the more the battery's kind of dissipating. Now there's a cool little equation
which involves three things. And if you know two of these three things, you can get the other thing, right? So it's watts, amps, and voltage. So I can use a water hose system as an analogy. When I have the water hose turned on, but the spigot closed, that buildup of pressure can be seen as voltage. It's a potential of energy built up. Amperage, or amps, is the flow, how much power can move at a time, or you can think thickness of a hose. And then wattage is the actual power being used or drawn. So when you release the spigot, that pressure and flow of water give you the wattage. So watts equals voltage times amps. All right, so in between that last scene and this next one you're about to see, I took off for a few days to go off grid and test everything out. I came back to the same campground, just got a different spot, plugged into shore power, woke up to crappy weather and a completely dead battery. All right, so here's my problem. I'm in between Carson City and Reno. I'm at a campground that I really, really like. And I was here for a week last week, and I didn't understand the stay regulations. You can only stay 7 days. You know, I had the park people come by and tell me you can only stay 7 days. So I picked up, I went out into completely off-grid, beautiful area, and did that for a few days, and then came back thinking that I could come back, you know, after I've been away for a little bit. But it's 7 days within a 30-day period. So they came by and just told me that, and I was like, okay, I just didn't understand. And they're not going to give me an extra night, so I have to pack up and get out of here by 2, which normally would be a problem. But now I still have the problem of my battery is not charging. So I need the battery power to lower the tent unless I do it manually, which I may have to do it manually. And it also looks like it's going to rain. So that's where I'm at. Work for a little bit, but it looks like inclement weather coming in again. Give me a break. So now, since the battery's completely dead, I got to use this to manually lower each one of these little freaking support beams, and I have to do them back and forth so they stay even. Thank goodness I'm getting really good at taking that thing down, putting it up. Only thing I got left is my gazebo. All right, so at this point, I'm learning about the benefit of backup systems and redundant systems. So I'm super thankful. It's invaluable that I was able to lower the tent without power, manually. So I was able to get out of there, find a new campground, same day, new campground, but without power. So I got out of that last campground because I'd overstayed my welcome. I think that's the right way to say it. Anyway, there's a limit to the number of days that you can stay there, and I've been staying there because I'm trying to get my power figured out, and I still haven't got it figured out. So anyway, they basically kicked me out. They're super nice about it, but so I had to pack up relatively fast, get out of there. I've gotten really good at that, so that's good, and find another place to stay. And I don't want to go completely off grid just yet until I get my power thing figured out. So I've opted for another state park campground. It's nice, it's a little bit expensive, but I'm only gonna be here for a couple of nights. But the problem is it's just the weather is crappy. It's a downpour of a mix of rain and snow and back and forth. So I'm just waiting for like a little let up in it so I can get out and pop up my gazebo, and my tent isn't that hard to put up, but I gotta manually raise my tent because the battery's dead. And so, is there a lesson to be learned here? I like this life already so far, except for the finding of a place. That's been challenging. Maybe it's just the location that I'm in, geography-wise, Reno, Carson City, other places in Nevada where there's a lot more BLM land, maybe easier. I don't know. I want a place that I can set up for at least a week or 2 weeks so I can feel like it's a home, and I don't want to be paying every night like I am at a campground, because that defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm trying to save money, right? So yeah, that's going to be the most challenging piece of it, I think, is just finding consistent places to stay. And I got to get my power figured out. So that's my update. And I just wish it would let up so I can pop up my gazebo and pop up my tent so I know that I've got that shelter tonight. But we shall see. I'm going to sit here and listen to the Bitcoin Standard, which is awesome. You guys need to listen to it if you haven't already. Man, it's nasty out there. I got to put on some thicker shoes. I don't plan on being like in the cold environments that much. I just came here for this talk that I had with the BLM Fire. Side note, I had a sleep talk with the BLM Fire of Nevada up there in Reno, which is the whole reason that I was enduring all this crappy weather, and it was the whole reason I was there in the first place.
I plan on following good weather, but I might need to invest in some good boots. Who the heck knows? But I'm gonna change into some warmer clothes so that I can pop up my gazebo in the snow, so I can show you that it can be done, even though I've never done it before. My challenge right now is I'm changing clothes in my car. That's a modern challenge. It's not even really a challenge. You know, you think about some of these things that I'm dealing with right now. It's all convenience, modern convenience. Come on, man. It's not even really a challenge, it's funny. I don't know if you can see it, but look at that. It's just coming down.
All right, screw it. I'm getting out. I'm putting up this freaking gazebo and the camper in this crappy weather.
All right, so gazebo popped up. Instant shelter in inclement weather. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. Like, you know, like just literally doesn't take that much effort, and you have shelter, waterproof shelter.
Here's what I learned here. Even in crappy conditions, you can make things work. So the manufacturer of the battery and the charger just happened to be in Reno, which is where I was staying at the time. So I ended up reaching out to him and scheduling a time to come and visit with him. So don't be afraid to ask for help in the context of trying to figure stuff out on your own, but still trying to learn from the experience.
Check it out real quick. I'm heading into Battleborn, which is the manufacturer of my lithium ion battery that I use for the trailer. And it's supposed to be like the top notch. I have a charger, so you have to have a charger for this battery so that when you have power coming into the charger, it charges the battery. Like, that's just the way it works. And something's not working. Like, my battery's not charging. The app that comes with the Victron charger says that it's charging, says that it starts at a certain volt and ends at a certain volt, but the voltage meter that we put on to measure the voltage keeps going down, and the battery itself, this morning I got up and it was at 0, and when I put a voltmeter on the battery directly, it's 0. So I don't know what the heck's going on. So we think it might be the charger. I'm going in here, I'm really hoping they can look at it and either tell us that we set it up completely wrong and we're idiots, or yeah, there's something wrong with something, you know.
By the way, never owned a voltmeter or knew what the heck it did. Bought one, learned how to use it, and learned what it's used for.
Heading into Battleborn.
Battleborn batteries. These are what the chargers look like. I have one that looks not like any of these, but
Cool. I keep forgetting to record my conversation, but this guy that I met is not the guy I'm supposed to meet, but he's super nice, and he's like, hey, so you want to come out and check it out? And I was like, yeah. So he's coming out. Here's the man. He just said, hey, I want to help you out because Brandon's in a meeting, so let's see what we can figure out. Now, usually, you know, I try to keep this on off as much as possible, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters or not, so.
I mean, that will help if there's any parasitic loads drawn off the batteries.
Yeah.
So,
Which
you
there
know,
wouldn't be,
it's-
because
Yeah.
this literally powers the raising of this tent
Okay.
and some LED lights, which I never use because I'm in bed before the sun goes down.
Sure.
And a water pump, which I never use because I have canteens.
Okay.
So
got
it's
it.
like the power that is used out of this is minimal.
Okay.
If ever. you
Yeah.
know, So I'm not, I've been trying to become an electrical or knowledgeable enough to mess with this stuff, but
Yeah. Let's see what we get here. So,
what does it say?
so it's showing 3.2, 3.3 volts. So what it effectively means is this battery's in low voltage disconnect.
Okay.
So what that means is you've drained all the power out of the batteries.
All right, so we got to take the battery out. They're going to take it in and do some testing. You like that squat there? I'm thankful that I have my own tools now, and I've got what I feel like are the most important things, which is all we need to take this battery out. It's not that difficult, but I'm excited to have my own tools.
So since I'm starting fresh and I don't really have my own tools, I researched the most basic and useful tools that you could possibly have. And I also checked with a bunch of my self-reliant buddies. And so in my initial starter toolkit, and I haven't needed anything else besides this stuff yet, I got a multi-bit driver, I got adjustable wrenches, I got pliers,
I got zip ties and cord and twine and wire. And it just feels good to have this stuff.
So basically, Battleborn kept my battery overnight to try to charge it to see if it would take a charge.
So what's the update on the battery? Did you do all right?
Yeah, battery pulled out yesterday. It was reading at 3 volts. We got it inside. We got it on a little, 15 amp output charger, and yeah, it was able to start taking a charge right away. It recovered from its low voltage disconnect. So now we're sitting at it after a little extended charge time yesterday. It's sitting at 14.65 volts. So it's back to fully charged, balanced. It's happy again. It kind of hung out there at about 13.9, right below 14 volts for a couple hours, and that to us is indicative of a battery that's maybe fallen out of balance a little bit internally. So now that we've given it some time to rebalance, let the BMS, the battery management system, take control of that and do some passive balancing, the battery's ready to install again. We're happy, we're healthy, and we'll go through and check the charger and see what else could be causing an issue in the system here.
Cool. So based on some detective work with the app, we figured out that the voltage that we're actually reading from the battery is around 13.4 or something like that, but the voltage that the charger is saying it's at is 14.4 consistently. So there's a disconnect there. So we're pretty confident that the chargers, and plus the charger showed some error codes, so we're pretty confident the charger's whacked somehow.
All right, then same day at Battleborn, they took the charger in to see if the charger was the problem.
We figured it out.
We got our culprit. So 20 amp fuse and a 25 amp charger was our culprit. We've got everything back together in the battery box on the Overland trailer. We're able to just plug in and get a little power from this Blue Eddy solar generator. So we just saw charge take place. We know that the battery is charged, balanced, happy. The charger's working.
App's working.
We need some 30 amp fuses to throw in the glove box.
Check your fuses. There's this one fuse that I didn't check, and it was on the, what do you call it? What wire?
So it was on the positive positive wire coming from the charger
into the battery to keep it from pushing too much power through it, something like that.
Yeah,
more than the wire could hold.
Easy oversight.
And that one fuse I didn't check.
Yeah. So, all right, problem solved.
Dude, thank you so much.
You're back on the road.
All right. So now, can we see that? Yeah. All right. So we got 384 watts going into the battery. That's the output. So it is pulling now. It is charging. Thank goodness. And I've got the solar going here, but it's kind of cloudy and overcast. I'm only pulling in 92, so it's going to drain the battery eventually. But theoretically, the battery will top off, and then this thing can just do nothing but charge. After all that, it was a freaking fuse. But it was a hard to see fuse. It was a hard to find fuse. I checked all the other fuses, but I could have easily gotten frustrated at the fact that I just went through that whole freaking ordeal, only to find that it was a fuse. But I'm thankful for the experience because I learned so much along the way. And I think I'm going to take this lesson with me in the future as I encounter more challenges and problems.